welcome to Next Week Tonight. Welcome back to Next Week Tonight, brought to you by Fusion Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Joshua, and we are on to Week 7. That's right, Week 7. Next Week Tonight, of course, keep you a week ahead of the competition, talking about ads to make before this week's games, trades you should be making, and more importantly, in the coming weeks, streamers. Players you can be streaming, looking for those good matchups where you can pick up somebody who's not typically owned and started, but maybe we can find some, diamonds in the rough here, because Week 7's a bad bye week. We'll get into it when we get into the streamers. We'll get into the players that you'll be needing to replace, but I'm just going to list the teams on bye. It's Buffalo, Dallas, Jacksonville, the LA Chargers, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. This is one of the bad ones, guys. There's a couple weeks that are really bad when it comes to buys. This is the first bad one. So get used to it. This is our life for the next, 8 weeks, 7 weeks? Can't remember. It goes until like week 14. So do the math. That's 7 weeks. 8, including week 6, which has not been played. I'm recording this. I think they're still playing in the fourth, in the Thursday night football game. So we are going to dive into it right away, quickly. Doing this pretty good lately. I'm going to hit all of the players, and then if you need to get out of here, I understand. But then we're going to have more of our typical show, a little bit more like normal podcast, talk about other things, and dig into my reasonings behind some of these. And then we'll recap and see what we can learn from past weeks. Both last week's streamers, actually be last week's ads, and the week before that streamers, because that's when I was predicting week 5, and we'll see how they did last week. All right, we're going to get into it now, but stick around if you can. There's still a lot more to see, a lot more to hear, a lot more to learn, a lot more to dig into. Let's go. Ads before week 6. And as always, for both the ads and the streamers, I am saying them in priority. Who would be first option of the ones I list? All right, so on the ads, I'm going to go with Preston Williams, wide receiver, Miami. He's back. Chris Moore, wide receiver, Houston. Is it a fluke? It might not be. Demetrius Harris, tight end for Arizona Cardinals, stepped up with Max Williams going on IR. And just a reminder, I'm going to say one name, but look for backup running backs and stash them. But I'm going to say Wayne Gallman specifically for a reason. You might need him in week 7, a really nice matchup. Mike Davis was beat up a little bit. He got a little bit more work last week. If that continues in week 6, and should the worst happen, I hope not Mike Davis or Patterson or anyone, but we need to have those guys ready to go. I'm not a handcuff guy when it comes to the draft, but now is the time to get handcuffs. Anybody's, everybody's. I don't care if it's your own. I don't care if it's your opponent's. There's not many out there. Get them. All right. Streamers. So quarterbacks. Who are you missing for quarterback? If you have Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, or Ben Roethlisberger. All right. I kind of set them in order of probable impact. Okay. Allen or Herbert, really going to hurt. Prescott, a little bit disappointing lately, but still a starter. Who are you going to replace him with? Well, look, we got some Ryans for you here today. We got Matt Ryan, Dolphins, playing against the Dolphins, who give up the 6th most points to quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill playing, of course, Kansas City. We want those high point scorings. I think you can finally go back to Tannehill's 2nd most points to quarterback by Kansas City. Running backs, you're missing Zach Moss. This is not in order. I listed them in order of the teams. Here, I'll do it on the spot. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Zach Moss, James Robinson, Devin Singletary. That was wrong. Robinson should have been ahead of Najee. Anyway, That's who you're missing and need to replace. It's bad. It's gonna get worse in a minute here, but we'll finish up running backs. Sonny Michel, all right, playing Detroit. They want to run it out, not stress Henderson out. He's actually been running pretty well, and I think he can, and he even did in New England. It just wasn't the best situation for him specifically, and he didn't do the most with it either. Kenny Gainwell, Kenneth. Now he hasn't earned Kenneth lately. He's Kenny. Kenny Gainwell against the Raiders, giving up the 8th most points to running backs. Could be worse, right? All right, wide receiver. Here we go. You're missing. I'm not going to put these in order at all. Okay, warning you. Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Galloper, Cedric Wilson if you need him, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. That's the bipocalypse right there, guys, for wide receiver. That's really bad. I got two that are really like Randall Cobb playing against Washington. We're just going to keep picking up Washington. We did it last week. A little bit of teaser on the recap, but we did it last week. Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris. All right. You can say there's no way I could predict it that those crazy touchdowns would have happened. But the fact is, when you're playing a bad defense, stuff happens. And it did. Randall Cobb, really like him. You could look for Allen Lazard in the past. You know, Rodgers has gone to Lazard. He liked Lazard in past years when other wide receivers were injured, such as Adams. But lately it's been Cobb. He'd be the go-to guy, assuming Adams is still healthy, and he's just going to be the next man up. Preston Williams already named him against Atlanta, who's, I mean, not terrible against the receivers, but I think it's just going to be a good matchup, a good game. We're getting deep here, guys. All right. Tight ends, you're going to be missing on bye. Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knox, Jared Cook, and maybe even Tyler Conklin, especially if you're in a 2 tight end league or something like that. You could have been starting him, streaming him. I really love this one, guys. And remember, the reason we're going over these now is you can pick them up for free, and before everyone's looking at their bye weeks, and the guy who has Dawson Knox or Schultz is looking at their teams and they're like, oh shoot, I need a tight end, and they're going to put a waiver claim, and now you have to compete against them when you could have just picked up CJ Uzomah for free, playing against Baltimore in week 7, 3rd most points to tight ends. That's a really nice option right there. And then I also mentioned him again, Demetrius Harris. Houston's given up the most points to tight end. Harris hasn't always been what was wanted to be, going all the way back to the Kansas City Chiefs day. He was behind Kelsey. They went to Chicago, right? But he stepped up, got a lot of work when Max Williams got hurt. The potential's there. And lastly, I actually have a defense for you to look out for. They're a good defense that's usually owned, but San Francisco is on bye week 6. So they might be dropped. So if you have room to stash them, and you have the Bills, the Chargers, Vikings, hopefully one of those, because I really hope you don't have, the Jags or the Cowboys or the Steelers defense. But you never know. That could be somebody you might need to stash. Would you stash a defense and carry 2 defenses rather than carry, for example, we talked about Wayne Gallman? I would go for Wayne Gallman instead. Just to give you a feel for where we're at there, that's how it would be. I'd rather carry the running back. We've seen this with Khalil Herbert. Now, Damian Williams, who was, our guy to pick up past weeks, but he's positive for COVID, out at least this week. So Khalil Herbert, next man up. You would have wanted to have him. I think I did pick him up in one deep league. Great. All right, guys. No no trades. I was looking all over thinking about trades, but I really wanted to focus on these streamers. We had some good trades for you. I'll keep saying trade for Allen Robinson because as I was going over the games, I can't be one of the players that's a streamer or anything like that. But Allen Robinson, week 7, is playing. Guess who? They are playing. Where to go? Tampa Bay. I knew it was Tampa Bay. They're playing Tampa Bay. All right. I think as long as Allen can stay healthy. All right. I know he's been a little beat up this week. A couple did not practices. So he's got this week 6 and then next week before a matchup against Tampa Bay. That's the comeback for Allen Robinson. If he's healthy, that's when you want him. And he's got a good little stretch beyond that of matchups. And then they have bye week, I think week 9 or 10. And it's mixed bags matchup by then. But maybe by that time, Fields will be more involved, more used to passing to Robinson instead of Mooney. And they'll be able to carry on a little bit more consistency from that point forward. Obviously, Mooney is probably owned, but that's who I'd go after is going to be Allen Robinson, still not backing off of it. All right. I just traded for another share. And I also traded for Zach Moss, who was a trade for and a pickup, weeks ago, week 2 show or something like that. All right. So there you go, guys. All right. We're going to transition. If you have to go, thanks for joining you. See ya.